Yes, he did. He gives it to Henry. Henry trying to track this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Great Sports Debates. We're going to forego the normal pod format and we're going to cover the NFL Draft. This is going to be my first mock draft. Just kind of throwing things together from what I've seen from some of the players, how they've graded out, combine results, and what we reportedly think teams like. With the draft just over a month away, which will be April 25th at 8 p.m. on Thursday, we will do live coverage for the draft, giving you our insights and thoughts. But we'll start with pick 1, which should be an easy one, slam dunk. Caleb Williams. Everyone has him rated as the top QB. It's always tough when you have an outstanding season like you did the year before. You know you're going to get the fine-tooth comb treatment. And everyone still has him as, you know, a probable Pro Bowl type player. For some reasons, there's a lot of people that don't like him. I'm not saying NFL-wise, more are fans. But the offer still remains. I'm willing to do the wager. You pick your quarterback. I'll pick Caleb Williams. We'll figure out the metric. I think this is a great fit for Chicago. Not only that, the rumors are the wide receiver they brought over from the Chargers wanted to play with Caleb Williams and kind of forced his way there. Keenan Allen's been productive forever, so he should be a great fit. They already have DJ Moore, who's shown to be electric. I would say the biggest concern would be time. Can the offensive line give them enough time to get open? And the division that they play in, with the Lions being one of the best teams in the league, Green Bay being very young and up and coming, and Minnesota made a lot of good moves in free agency on a team that was already pretty good, assuming that they're able to have a quarterback besides Sam Darnold. At number 2, it seems like everyone has Washington taking Jaden Daniels, so I'll keep him there. Mobile quarterback, can throw, can run. Looks a little small. We'll see if that winds up being an injury concern or whatever, but looks to be a great pick for Washington at 2. Let me know what you think in the comment section. All right, at 3 is where it kind of gets tricky. I was surprised to see, a lot of people had Drake May versus Caleb Williams at the beginning of the year. But the one that really surprised me is Chris Sims had him as a tier 4 quarterback. And, he usually does pretty good on his QB analysis. His thoughts were, while Drake May has a high ceiling and can make all the throws and makes all the highlight plays, he's not consistent and has too many throws that aren't good. I'm not going to slide May any further down than 3. He has several years of work that he's done at North Carolina. New England could look to trade to Minnesota, that appears to clearly want to trade up. But I think with them parting ways with Mac Jones, and as bad as they need a quarterback, they're going to take the guy that they like there. And I'm going to plug in Drake May for that pick. So at 4, just to spice it up, we made a trade. It makes sense. We know Arizona's trying to trade up. Minnesota wants to trade up. We know Arizona is good with value. You see how they maneuvered around the draft last year and still got their guy. My only concern would be if Arizona trades here and they, wind up getting 11 and 23, assuming that's the offer. Or, maybe some other picks, one way or the other. But as far as the first round goes, they're not going to get that top-level wide receiver that seems to be a big need for them. But under the assumption that they make that trade, Minnesota goes up, and the guy everyone's saying that they're in love with is J.J. McCarthy. Now, this could be interesting because apparently he showed out at, all of his testings and pro days and combines, and he can throw the ball, and we knew he was a highly recruited guy coming into Michigan, and maybe he just didn't get the chance that the other quarterbacks did, as they're more of a running team there. But I could see people being really high or really low on this pick. Either way, Minnesota has to do something to have somebody not Sam Darnold as quarterback. So in this scenario at 5, I feel like the Chargers make out. They get Marvin Harrison, who, in my opinion, could be the best player coming out of the draft. At 6, the Giants are always going to go for the sizzle. They'll take Malik Neighbors, getting wide receiver number 2 on most people's boards, out. And at number 7, Tennessee, I feel like, tries to build things the right way. They're going to have to hope that Will Levis is their guy, and they're going to take Joe Alt, who seems to be, by most people's picks, kind of the unanimous offensive tackle 1. And I know people had him rated as high as the number 1 guy at some points, throughout the years. At 8, Atlanta takes Rome Odunze. I mean, I think this is kind of a no-brainer if everything falls out their way. I know a lot of people have them going edge, but I think if Odunze's there, he's the pick that you have to make and set Kirk Cousins up for success. We'll get to see what Drake London is or isn't, as well as Kyle Pitts. And I think if those guys produce, they're going to have a big season. I think they're going to have double-digit wins. And I think if Kirk has time to cook, he'll prove to be pretty good. At number 9, we have Chicago taking Dallas Turner. This is a best player available pick. I think they're definitely going to look to go edge or offensive line. Obviously, I think if Alt was there, he's the guy. I don't know if they're going to like any of the other tackles enough to take them over Turner. At 10, I got the Jets taking the offensive tackle out of Penn State. I mean, this was a guy that we were talking about as a top 5 player overall last year. Again, this kind of goes back to the Caleb Williams thing I was talking about where, you've already done everything great and now they get another year to look at you and they start picking things apart. I've seen some people go tight end or other picks to the Jets. I feel like this is the team, this is the easiest one to lock down. Just based on their roster, they have to take an offensive tackle. And I think this is the guy. So at 11, assuming that this trade goes through, we have Arizona. They could go a lot of different ways here. Just this is where the draft gets a little more interesting. None of the really top-level guys fall to them. I think Arnold might be the pick. Seems to be clearly everyone's cornerback number 1. And I don't think that there's a wide receiver worth reaching for at this point. He might be best player available as well and fills a need. At 12, all the talk is that Denver's going to reach quarterback. J.J. McCarthy was the guy we've seen here through a lot of people. Do they reach for Bo Nix at this point? I don't think that's a good move. I know some people have evaluated him fairly well and say, well, it was a lot of short passing. That's what he was asked to do. But, I kind of remember him from, he was at Auburn before too, right? And I wasn't impressed. I definitely don't like this pick, but if they're going to go quarterback, that might be it. I know a lot of people have Penix as a, second or third round guy. He's somebody, again, I'm not breaking down the film, but just watching the games, he was able to be successful on some really bad teams, before Washington. I think it was Illinois, one of the bad Big Ten teams he was on. And he was kind of a one-man band, getting really inferior teams to win some games. All right, at 13... this is another tricky one. Quinyon Mitchell might be cornerback 2. He has the versatility to play inside or out. But I think when it comes to the Raiders, they badly need offensive tackle help. And I'll hook them up with the offensive tackle out of Oregon State. And not quite as bad a situation as the Jets are in, but I think that they have to get an offensive tackle. At 14, we got the Saints. They could go line either side, but I think Brock Bowers is just too good to pass up here. But I wouldn't be surprised if they wound up getting an offensive line player because they need that as well. At 15, we got the Colts. I think they really need to go wide receiver or defensive back. They're likely going to want to help Anthony Richardson, but the way that this draft scenario shakes out, I think Quinyon Mitchell is too valuable compared to any of the other wide receivers they could pick at this point. At 16, we got the Seattle Seahawks. I feel like interior offensive line is a strong need here, or inside linebacker. Not that they're going to go that route round one. So, guys like maybe JPJ could work. But again, in this scenario, I think Jared Verse falling in the mock, he's probably the guy here. Let me know what you think in the comments. At 17, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they're going to go defensive back, especially in this scenario where there's still some top guys available. And they're going to run this pick in with Nate Wiggins still available. So 18, Bengals. I've seen people mock them tight end and a bunch of random stuff. But what I haven't seen, what I think would be the perfect fit, and somebody I like a lot, this could be the steal of the draft, also replaces DJ Reader, who they lost, would be Byron Murphy. I know people don't look at inside defensive line players as value, but this guy could be a game wrecker. So, when you have someone like this, you have to look at it a little bit differently. And, if you're a guy that can wreak havoc on the inside, you're going to be very valuable. At 19, we got the Rams. I say they're going to go top edge available here. And we'll do the edge out of UCLA. He was good all year. He's been flying up boards, and the Rams are going to need some pass rush presence as they're without Aaron Donald at this point as well. At 20, Pittsburgh, they're going to draft somebody on the offensive line. And the way this mock plays out, I think in any scenario, there's going to be guys available. Are they going to want to get someone like JPJ that can, play center? Or do they say, hey, someone like JC Latham is, the best offensive line player available in our opinion? So I got JC Latham going to them in Pittsburgh, but I think it's definitely going to be an offensive line pick. Pittsburgh could be a scary team. I know I get feedback in the, game picks as well as even the free agency thing that I don't like Pittsburgh or I don't mention Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had a good free agency. I didn't have them on the list of winners. I like the Queen signing. I'm not as hyper as you guys are with the Fields and Russell Wilson, but I think they're good value for what they paid for them. And they definitely need to figure out what they're going to do at quarterback. They did lose a wide receiver as well, too. And, some of the other guys you guys are throwing to me, like, Sean Elliott, is a below average player. But I think if the Steelers can get somebody to help them block, they can continue to be a playoff team. At 21 is Miami. No matter how people try to sugarcoat it, they were a loser in free agency. They definitely need help on the trenches, especially after free agency. In this scenario, JPJ or Mims could work. But most people I've seen have Troy out of Washington ranked a little bit higher. So we'll give him as the offensive tackle for the Dolphins. At 22, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to run the card up with Cooper DeJean available. Their defensive backfield could use some help. They did bring, safety back in who was gone for 1 year. Gardner Johnson. So that should help as well. And if they can get that defensive backfield figured out and they figure out how to still be a dominant offensive line without Kelsey around, this could be a team that could be a contender again. At 23 is Arizona. This is the problem. Like I said, if Arizona does this trade, now they have to reach a little bit. I know this is kind of where everyone has him rated, but, Brian Thomas Jr. is definitely, a step down from the top 3 guys available, in my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. But I definitely think if they don't get a wide receiver with their first pick, they're going to get one with their second pick. At 24, we got the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to jump on JPJ here. They could also consider Mims, but you want to build in the trenches, and I think this is where they're going to go here, and that would be a great pick for a team that wants to be able to run the ball. At 25 is Green Bay. This is a little bit easier. I think they have 2 big holes, and that's on the offensive tackle or defensive backfield situation. In this scenario, I'm going to give them Mims out of Georgia because I think he's the best of that group available. At 26, Tampa Bay is going to go best player available and fill a spot that they lost with their trade with Detroit. And they're going to go Kool-aid McKinstry, and hopefully he can play at the same level at a lot cheaper price. At 27, we got Arizona again in the scenario where this trade happens. This is the pick that they get from Houston. This would give them 3 first-round picks. They'll go best player available here and take Newton out of Illinois. At 28 for Buffalo, I'm going to say if Newton and Murphy are both gone, they might shift from defensive line to looking at wide receiver. And I got Adonai Mitchell as the pick here. At 29, the Lions. A lot of people here have Detroit going edge or wide receiver. But in my opinion, interior offensive line is going to be their biggest need, especially after losing Jonah Jackson. If JPJ or even if Graham Barton are available, I think that's the pick. So we'll go Barton here at 29. All right, 3 more picks. We got Baltimore. I got them taking Xavier Worthy. He might be the best fit after his combine results. If he has the tape to match, I think Baltimore would snag him up. But they always seem to find the right guy that's falling. So whoever that's going to be, Baltimore's going to find the right guy. At 31, and this mock works out great for San Francisco. They could use offensive tackle help. And in this spot, they're going to be able to grab the last stud there with Tyler Guyton. And finally, at 32 is Kansas City. We know they could use offensive tackle or wide receiver. So, again, this is another spot that's really easy to project. I think that they might go wide receiver, even though in this mock there's some more talented players along the edge available, and take Keon Coleman, who reportedly they like. So that's how I have the first round shaken out. I know there's a couple edges that people have in other mocks that probably will find their way into the first round. Let me know what you think. Try to match team need best I could with guys available. And hit me in the comment section if there's anything I missed, other trades that might be happening, or maybe free agency moves that weren't considered. Thanks a lot, and maybe we'll do one more of these before we do live draft coverage on the night of the 25th.